Every time I make pesto, I have a decision to make. Do I want quality or do I want convenience? Pesto made with a mortar and pestle is the gold standard, but a huge pain in the ass. Pesto made with a food processor is quick and easy and still delicious, but it's not ideal for pasta dishes because it can be slightly greasy, grainy, and bitter. Can we have our cake and eat it too? Can we use a machine to produce a pesto worthy of homemade pasta? I think so. I finally found a method that scales well and gets me very close to my ideal pesto with only 2 minutes of extra work on top of the standard machine procedure. The main reason most cooks give for making pesto in a mortar is the aroma. Bashing basil with a pestle breaks more cell walls and releases more aromatic compounds than the clean cuts of the processor blade. Although this is true, the biggest beneficiary of this additional aroma is the person making the pesto, not the person eating the pesto. Aromas are volatile, and our brains mostly notice a new presence of the aroma, not the overall amount of it. My main reason for using a mortar is the texture. I want a pesto that is creamy and well emulsified. I don't want it to be greasy. It should have the consistency that is close to mayo. And this creaminess is not something that's achievable in a food processor. No matter how finely you process, the sauce will remain ever so slightly grainy. It also takes a lot of oil to help your machine turn basil into a puree. For a sandwich, a pesto that is slightly greasy and grainy is not a problem. But if you want to mix this pesto with pasta, the results will be less than ideal. There is another problem with the processor. It produces a pesto that is ever so slightly bitter because processing extra virgin olive oil in a machine releases its bitter compounds. In a mortar, most of the bashing happens before the oil goes in, but in a machine, the oil is necessary right up front to prevent the leaves from flying all over the place. Again, this is not a big deal if you're serving pesto in a sandwich. The other ingredients will cover up a little extra bitterness. But if you're serving it with a delicately flavored pasta, every deficiency is in your face. The good news is that all these problems are solvable. Pre-bashing basil and all the other ingredients will help your machine puree them with minimal oil. If you like using a mortar, you can start in a mortar, but I much prefer a gallon-sized Ziploc bag. It has a bigger capacity than my mortar and I don't have to deal with ingredients jumping out of it. I find that it's easier to get my ingredients out of the bag if I line it with parchment paper, but a plastic bag alone could work as well. Okay, let's gather our ingredients. We'll need basil, a little garlic, finely shaved or grated parmesan. I like to use a vegetable peeler for it, and pine nuts. You are welcome to eyeball all the ingredients, no need for accurate measurements here. Let's add some salt. This will act not only as a seasoning, but also as an abrasive, so use the coarsest salt you have. Push out the air and zip the bag, but leave one corner open. Line your counter with a towel or some mat so that you don't damage it. After I get it going, I find it more efficient to fold the bag in half so that I can bruise more basil with each head. There are many ways to bash this stuff. You can put it into a heavy skillet and bash it with the end of a rolling pin or a meat tenderizer. You could also get rid of the skillet and use the side of your rolling pin. Periodically, flip the bag over and keep going like this for a couple of minutes. Let's see what we've got. Lovely! I think we're ready to puree. A pastry scraper can help you get all the ingredients off your parchment paper. I like to add a little lemon juice to my pesto, but that's optional. Now let's talk about the machines. If you want a pesto that is smooth and emulsified, use a high-speed blender like a Vitamix. Vitamix is particularly good because it has a pusher, which lets you get away with less oil. An immersion blender would be my second choice, and the food processor is the last resort if you want creaminess. Just like everyone else, I used to use extra virgin olive oil in machine-made pesto, but recently I tried a neutral oil and thought it was actually better. It really lets the basil shine. Just be careful that you don't use canola. It smells like fish to some people, especially after it goes through a machine. So even if it doesn't smell like fish to you, it might smell like fish to the people you are serving. I like to use refined sunflower oil, but avocado and grapeseed are also good choices. I'm using a 1/4 cup of oil, but if I was making a double batch, I wouldn't necessarily increase the oil. Only use what you need to get your ingredients to move. Start your machine running and slowly add the oil through the feed tube. If your blender has a pusher, use it to help you. Scrape and restart your machine a few times until you get a smooth puree. Toward the end, I like to add a bit of butter for extra creaminess. This is especially helpful if you plan to serve the pesto with pasta. Let's see how the texture is. Perfect. It's creamy and very basil-y. If you have a good olive oil, the right time to add it is at the very end. This way, you won't ruin it with aggressive blending. The question that immediately comes up in class after I say this is, how do I know if my olive oil is good? And the answer is very simple. Pour some into a teaspoon and drink it. If it's not delicious, it will not do your pesto any favors. So just leave it out. If you're looking for the ultimate pasta to pair with your pesto, you really can't do better than homemade trofie. Here are more very detailed culinary tutorials for you to check out, and if you are ever in the Boston area, maybe I'll see you in one of my classes.